AI changing everything.
Yeah, it's everywhere. Creative stuff, science.
Exactly. But sometimes the really big shifts, they happen kind of quietly, away from the headlines,
Mm.
like on the industrial floor. And that's what we're digging into today, how artificial intelligence is, reshaping industrial maintenance.
Yeah, and we're basing this deep dive specifically on the sources you sent over for us to explore.
Right.
Our goal here is really to sift through your material, pull out what it says about AI's actual impact on maintenance, look at the promises, the challenges.
And figure out what's most important for you to know from these sources.
Precisely. We'll look at the big potential, maybe some surprising hurdles, and where AI is actually making a difference now.
Okay, so first off, this isn't just like future tech we're talking about. Your sources say adoption is already pretty widespread.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's clear from the material that significant adoption is happening right now. It mentions nearly 3/4 of industrial companies are already using or at least actively testing AI.
3/4. Wow.
Yes, in production and maintenance specifically. So it's definitely here.
That's a big number. It really shows it's moving beyond the experimental phase for many.
And the industry leaders, they certainly see the writing on the wall. The sources state that 89% of them believe AI is going to be essential
Essential for what? Just general improvement or?
for staying competitive.
Yeah.
Basically indispensable within the next 5 years. They see it as table stakes soon.
Okay, so high adoption, strong belief in its necessity. What about the promised benefits? The sources mentioned some pretty eye-popping numbers.
They do. McKinsey studies are cited, suggesting AI could genuinely reduce maintenance costs by up to 30%.
30% is huge in asset-heavy industries.
It really is. And maybe even more impactful, potentially decrease those unexpected equipment failures by as much as 70%. Think about the downtime costs saved there.
70% fewer breakdowns, that would transform operations. Okay, that's the potential. It sounds amazing.
But, and this is a really crucial point from your sources,
Yeah.
there's a reality check.
Ah, okay. Here it comes.
Yeah. Despite all that potential, despite the high adoption rates we just talked about, the material says only about 30% of these AI initiatives actually make it into, full productive use.
Wait, only 30%, so 70% stall out.
70% don't make it past the pilot or testing phase. That's a significant gap between trying it out and actually rolling it out effectively.
Okay, why? What are the sources saying are the big roadblocks there?
Well, they're pretty clear on the main culprits. It often comes down to fundamental issues. Things like not having good enough quality data to feed the AI.
Right, the garbage in, garbage out problem.
Exactly. Yeah. Also, struggling to show a clear return on investment. That ROI calculation can be tricky.
Proving it actually pays for itself.
Yeah. And then there are persistent concerns about, the accuracy of the AI's predictions or recommendations, and even potential biases baked into the outcomes.
So these aren't just small technical things, they're foundational challenges.
Absolutely. Foundational.
That pattern, huge excitement, big promises.
Yeah.
Then hitting these kinds of walls, it sounds a lot like what the sources call the technology hype cycle, doesn't it?
That's precisely how the sources frame it.
Yeah.
You get that initial peak of inflated expectations. Everyone's excited about the 30% cost cuts, the 70% failure reduction.
Right. Companies jump in.
They jump in, maybe without fully appreciating what's needed underneath.
Yeah.
And then they hit those barriers. The data isn't ready. The ROI isn't clear.
And that leads to the drop in expectations, the trough of disillusionment they mentioned.
Exactly. The sources suggest that 70% failure rate isn't necessarily AI failing. It's companies learning the hard way about the prerequisites. And the biggest prerequisite, the one the sources just keep emphasizing.
Let me guess. Data.
It's the data. Absolutely. Your sources are unambiguous on this. Solid, high-quality data is the bedrock.
It needs to be accurate, timely.
And contextual. The AI needs to understand what the data means in the real world, which machine, its history, the conditions. Without that clean, reliable foundation, even the smartest algorithm is flying blind. It just can't deliver trustworthy insights.
Okay, so data is king. Assuming a company is getting its data house in order, what are the specific ways AI is actually being used in maintenance right now, according to your sources? What does it do?
Well, predictive maintenance is probably the biggest and most talked about area.
Right, predicting failures before they happen.
Exactly. Instead of just waiting for something to break or doing scheduled maintenance that might not be needed yet, AI analyzes real-time data from sensors.
Like vibration, temperature, that sort of thing?
Precisely. Vibration, temperature, pressure, acoustics, whatever sensors are available. It looks for patterns that indicate a potential failure before it occurs.
So maintenance becomes proactive, not reactive.
That's the goal. Planned interventions, less costly downtime. It's a huge shift.
Okay, beyond just predicting failure, what else?
AI can also help refine the overall maintenance strategy itself. It can analyze huge amounts of historical data failures, repairs, parts used, operating conditions across lots of similar assets.
Looking for broader patterns.
Right. To identify ways to optimize the preventive maintenance schedules. Maybe machine A needs checks more often than machine B, even if the manual says otherwise. It moves things from generic calendar schedules to smarter condition-based or usage-based plans, tailored plans.
Making the scheduled work more efficient. Got it. And I remember the sources mentioning spare parts management, too. That's always a headache.
Definitely. AI can really help optimize inventory. By looking at predicted failures and historical part usage, it can forecast demand for specific spares much more accurately.
So you don't have too much cash tied up in inventory, but you also don't get caught short during a breakdown.
Exactly that balance. It minimizes carrying costs and avoids delays. It can even evaluate supplier performance based on how reliable the components they provide actually turn out to be.
Interesting. Now, this next one the sources mentioned feels very current.
That's it.
Using NLP, natural language processing.
Yeah, this is fascinating. It's about empowering the technicians directly. The sources describe systems where a tech in the field can literally just, talk or text a question to an AI.
Like asking, how do I fix this error code?
Pretty much. How do I troubleshoot error code X on pump model Y? And the AI pulls information from manuals, from past repair logs, from expert knowledge bases, and gives an immediate, actionable answer.
Wow, the sources called it a virtual mentor or co-pilot.
Right. That's the idea. Providing that just-in-time knowledge right there on the spot. It's especially valuable for newer technicians, helps bridge the skills gap.
I can see how that saves a ton of time, prevents mistakes too. No more flipping through manuals. What about automating the tedious stuff?
Right. Intelligent automation. AI can handle a lot of the lower value administrative tasks in the maintenance workflow.
Like what? Creating work orders automatically.
Exactly. Automatically generating a service request if a sensor reading crosses a threshold. Or classifying incoming maintenance notifications, routing them correctly. Even helping streamline compliance reporting by gathering the necessary data.
So it frees up the skilled humans, the technicians, the planners for the complex problem solving and hands-on work.
That's the key. Letting people focus on where their expertise really matters.
Okay, and then there's the sort of ultimate goal the sources mentioned, prescriptive maintenance. That sounds like the next level up.
It really is positioned as the next frontier. Predictive tells you something might fail. Prescriptive aims to tell you exactly what to do about it.
So not just pump A might fail soon, but
replace bearing X on pump A within the next 48 hours using procedure Y, and here are the steps. It recommends the specific action, the timing, even the how-to.
that sounds incredibly powerful, but also complex to achieve.
Very. The sources note it requires really deep, comprehensive data integration. You need to connect data from the operational tech, the sensors, with the enterprise systems, like your EAM or ERP, maybe even external data like weather forecasts, if relevant. You need that complete picture.
So pulling all these threads together, the potential, the challenges like data, the different applications, how are companies actually making this happen? Your sources give an example, right? Sigga Technologies.
They did. They highlighted Sigga as a company specifically working in this space, particularly with asset-intensive industries. Their platform, Sigga EAM Empower, is presented as a tool designed to help companies navigate these waters.
And the material mentioned things like no-code tools, which helps with adoption, and seamless connection to SAP that addresses the integration challenge.
Exactly. They seem focused on tackling those core barriers we discussed. The sources also pointed out their focus on mobility.
Making sure techs have data in the field, even offline.
Right. And specifically called out their use of AI agents that use natural language. So techs can interact with those complex back-end systems just by talking or typing.
That ties directly back to that NLP virtual mentor idea we talked about.
It does. It sounds like the approach is about providing the tools and the framework to help companies build that necessary foundation, the clean data, the integrated systems, the organizational readiness.
To actually get those AI initiatives out of that 70% failure zone and into real sustainable use, tackling the fundamentals.
That really seems to be the core message from the sources.
Yeah.
The AI tech itself is powerful, but success isn't about the algorithm alone. It's about building the ecosystem around it.
So wrapping this up, what does this deep dive into your sources really mean for you, our listener? It feels like AI in maintenance is moving past that initial, maybe overblown hype.
Yeah, it's maturing. The potential benefits, cost savings, fewer failures, those are real and significant according to the material.
But it's a big but. Unlocking that potential isn't automatic. It's not plug and play.
No, the sources are very clear. Success absolutely hinges on getting the fundamentals right, especially having that high-quality contextual data flowing and making sure the organization is actually ready to use and trust the insights the AI provides.
It's less about buying AI, more about becoming an AI-ready organization.
Well put. It's about building the capability for AI to thrive.
So thinking about that progression the sources outlined, from
Yeah.
prediction to prescription, what kind of changes, what level of data integration, what kind of human AI teamwork will really be needed inside a company to get to that ultimate point, where the AI doesn't just warn you, it tells you exactly how to fix it. That feels like a pretty profound organizational shift is needed.
It certainly suggests a deep integration of technology and process. And for anyone wanting to explore how companies like Sigga are tackling these challenges, the source material mentioned visiting Sigga.com for more information.